Welcome to the Daily 15 with your host, Jay Real. Welcome to another edition of the Daily 15. Tonight, man, we're only going in on a couple of topics tonight. A couple of things that I've noticed over the last couple of days that have really just kind of took to my spirit, and I just want to speak on them real quick. First, I got to get to the presidential candidate, Hilary Clinton. Hillary's been in the news lately, not so much for what she's doing or really said, but for what I think is some frivolous stuff. So lately, the first thing I saw about her was this idea that she went into a Chipotle restaurant, ordered some food, left, and went on about her business. And she is catching hell for doing just that. So the first thing they noticed, one, they talked about the employees didn't even realize that she was Hilary Clinton when she came in and ordered the food. It was later on that a reporter came around sniffing. The reporter asked the manager if he could look through the tapes so that they could verify whether or not Hilary was actually there. They looked at the tapes. Yes, it was Hilary. And at that point is when the manager, they obviously were looking for a quote. And so he gave him the quote to say, man, that was Hilary. I can't even believe it. She didn't even tip when she left. And now she's catching hell for not tipping. Let me just say this. Number one, I didn't even realize Chipotle had a tip jar. I've been to Chipotle several times, and I never tipped a Chipotle employee. Everybody that I know that's been in Chipotle has never tipped a Chipotle employee. But now all of a sudden, because Hillary Clinton visited and she didn't tip him, oh my gosh, how can she be president because she didn't tip the Chipotle employees? If you don't get up out of here with that foolishness. I don't like Hillary as a candidate, and there's 1,000 different reasons. I did a whole Daily 15 to discuss my reasons for not liking Hillary Clinton to be our future president. But not tipping at Chipotle? Really? I mean, come on. I mean, is the news cycle so slow that we need to spend time talking about how she didn't tip at Chipotle? Man, if y'all don't get a life and get some business and move on. The other thing they talked about is she was obviously traveling now and talking to people along the road. And so she had a campaign event. And they said the campaign event, it was screened. So they knew who the people were coming to the event. I think it was held at a restaurant, if I remember correctly. And so people were up in arms about the fact that she held a campaign event and she actually pre-screened the people that came. Really? Tell me a candidate that doesn't have a campaign event that doesn't pre-screen the people that have come. We all know that these ain't spontaneous interactions with people. Well, number one, you got security issues. And so you want to make sure, especially someone who is the former first lady in the country who still probably has Secret Service security, we know they're going to not just let anybody up in there. We're going to do a little bit of checking before she comes in there. But really, I think every candidate is screening the people so that they're getting something semi-favorable to the message that they're trying to send. This ain't nothing new. I'm not even surprised or offended. What I'm offended by is this idea that we want to harp for 15 minutes or an hour on radio about the fact that this is what she's doing. As I said before, I did a whole segment on why she shouldn't be president, but this ain't one of them. There's going to be plenty of things that I think that are going to happen over the course of this next year and a half that she's campaigning as we discuss her record as senator, as secretary of state, as former first lady, that we don't have to harp on some BS about not tipping at Chipotle and not speaking to people when she went to Chipotle and pre-screening folks that came to the campaign event. Get a life. Let's talk about something real. Secondly, there was a YouTube video by the young actress that played Rue in the first Hunger Games. I don't know if you saw the first Hunger Games, but she played Rue. I might butcher her name here. I was looking to see how to properly pronounce it, but I'm going to do my best. It's Amandla Stenberg. That's what I get when I look at it anyway. That's Amandla Stenberg. So if I'm pronouncing it wrong, at least Google her because I'd love for you to see this video. But so she released a YouTube video talking about cultural appropriation. Now, the things she said in the video, I didn't find shocking or things that haven't been said before. What I appreciated about the video is the fact that the video is being made by a 16-year-old, because she's only 16, and yet she's picking up and commenting on these particular subjects, cultural appropriation. And the reason why, to me, that's so unique and important as well is because she's so young. So often we talk about the youth and we say how the youth aren't actively engaging and really don't know what's going on in the world and sort of live in a world with blinders on. And so for me, it's refreshing to see a young lady who actually is, growing up in Hollywood, if you will. She's done at least 2 films at this point. And I'm sure she's looking to do more, of course. But it's nice to see that she's walking in the world without blinders. And she's commenting on what she sees culturally happening in this country and posing the questions to hopefully spark conversations so that we can move and change beyond that. And so that's what I find interesting about her particular article that or I should say her YouTube post that she created. And so some of the things that she raised, I'm just going to go over the ideas. I'm not going to play for the actual post tonight, but check out the post. You can, if you go to her YouTube page or her Twitter page, she has links to the post that you can check out. Again, that's Amandla Stenberg. That's AMANDLA STENBERG is how you say it. But some of the things she talked about, she referenced how in popular culture, basically how black culture is being imitated in popular culture. And how that black culture, when we see it a lot of times when we see it on black people, we look at that and we go, I don't know about that. But then as soon as insert your favorite white artist uses the same black culture, it's somehow celebrated now, and it's good, and we're moving forward, and the world is in a great place. And so some of the things that she commented on, well, she actually started with hair, and she was commenting on braids and commenting how, obviously black people have worn braids for a long time. She discussed how a lot of times the reason why black women wear braids is because when you're growing your hair out, obviously you don't want your hair to be, you don't necessarily want to add a bunch of chemicals in it. And then obviously you want it to be able to breathe and be free. And so you might put your hair in braids so that it can kind of grow out and be free. At the same time, of course, you're going to style it a lot of times and so forth. And so, even as recently as just about a couple months ago, we had Zendaya wear cornrows, and they were cracking jokes about her smelling like weed and oil. But yet we've seen popular white artists do it, and we were like, wow, that looks so good. I can't believe it. It's so hip, it's so chic, it's so that. I mean, they're even wearing braids, she pointed out, on the runway. But yet this young lady, Zendaya, wears the braids and somehow she's smelling like weed. Some of the other references she made, of course, twerking. Twerking has been done as by black people for a long time. Miley Cyrus does it, and now the world is just fascinated. Wow, I can't believe this thing called twerking. And now there's classes, and, it's just everywhere, of course. And so just different references talking about how they're certainly willing to appropriate our culture and celebrate it once they see their favorite white artists. But when we do it, we're getting the side eye. And so she's just talking about those references. And then in the end, what I like is she pulls in, the different situations that have been happening with Trayvon Martin, with Michael Brown, and just commenting on how when black culture has been appropriated by these white artists, we're celebrating. But yet when we see these black kids being gunned down in the streets, everybody's silent. Nobody has nothing to say. And so the one thing that she does at the end of her video is she actually poses a question. And the question she poses, she says, What would America be like if we loved black people as much as black culture? And again, it's not so much that what she said was shocking and new, but it was refreshing to hear it from a young person. Because we're seeing this every day. We know black culture's everywhere. It used to be you couldn't find hip-hop except if you went to the right neighborhood. But now hip-hop is everywhere. Hip-hop artists are in movies. Hip-hop artists are in commercials now. Hip-hop related beats are in commercials that they have no black people in them, for that matter. You know, we're just everywhere. I mean, if you even go across the world, they can't speak our languages, but of course they can sing the hip-hop songs to a T. So it's everywhere, but yet when we see these situations where young men are being gunned down in the street, everybody is silent except for black people, one, and those that want to join in us. But the majority is silent, and the majority is thinking, as they did in the most recent case in Walter Scott's case. Well, if he was running away from the cops, he must have had done something that deserved to make him get shot, right? Those are the questions we're answering when it comes to us being shot. But, you know, let's wear their hairstyles. Let's wear their clothes. Let's talk like they talk. Let's put grills in our mouth like they put grills in their mouth. Let's use some ebonics and slang when we talk to each other. But whoa. Well, if they're shooting you, they must have done something, right? So again, I shot that young lady out because it's the message that we hope all of our youth are having conversations about and questioning. Not so much because we need those questions to keep us separated, but we need those questions so that we can actually come together and bring about change so that we're not seeing these random shootings happen. So again, Amandla Stenberg, AMANDLA Check out a video, comment if you so desire. But kudos to her for being a young person who's thinking and hopefully will be bringing about some change. This has been the Daily 15 with your host, Jay Real. Check me out on Facebook, Real Family Talk. Check me out on Twitter, Real Family Talk. The show airs every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 1680 a.m. in Orlando. You can listen to us online at WOKBradio.com. Until next time, this has been the Daily 15.